Yeah, and it's overrided everything that happened at practice, which was um, a lot of red zone stuff. So some touchdowns that'll excite people because you're on a condensed space. Big day for Dontayvion Wicks. I saw my buddy Jimmy Kemsky called that race. I called that race. When did I call that race? A week
Yeah, the
ago.
Birds 365 guys called that thing at least a week ago.
Yeah. So Jimmy called it today. He had a big day. He had a really good day. Um, really is a good route runner. He's violent coming out of his breaks, and he's just so sharp. Whereas Hollywood Brown's the exact opposite. That guy's killing Jalen with these routes.
I
He got
know, man.
another
I mean, you pointed that. I
interception.
went back and watched that video. Yeah, that was a tough look.
Did it again today. It was 7-on-7. I think it was Mac McWilliams who got the interception. It's like he undercut it because he rounded it instead of cutting it. It's like, what are we doing here? Get Darius Cooper out there.
Yeah, well, John, you think the only thing keeping Hollywood here is that 5 million?
Yeah, well, right now I do. He's not having a great camp, and really, for all the talk about his speed, it's never really shown up. Um, Certainly not this summer, but I mean in his career. It's really if you look at his numbers, it's never shown up. So I mean, he was famous for whatever he ran at the combine or his pro day, but it was for sub 4.3, I think. But um, the most yards per catch he's ever had was 13.3 in Baltimore in his second season. And then it's been last 5 seasons 11.1, 10.6, 11.3. He was hurt, so that doesn't count. And then 12 last year. It's like, this talk about him being a field stretcher is it's a fallacy, basically. And if he's not helping you out, and if he's look, at some point, if you keep making a quarterback look bad, they are going to go in a different direction, even
Yeah,
with the
I was going to say,
5 million.
what would it take for them to cut that bait or cut that contract?
Um,
Is a
yeah,
trade on the table? Could that happen?
possibly, you know, possibly, but he's a big track star in high school, and he can run, but it just doesn't translate. Um, and I look at Darius and Elijah Moore have been better, significantly better, significantly. Now it's just practice. Even so, I don't know if you saw Nick today, but he was our buddy BLG got the first question, and because he's the top Darius Cooper supporter, and he asked about him, and Nick was kind of, Nick was kind of basically settled down. It's August, whatever. Still a long way to go before you're making decisions about players having roles and things like that, or players jumping ahead of other people, as I would say.
Honest answer, or is he playing politics there with Makai Lemon?
Well, I'm sure a little bit, but Makai wasn't really brought up in.
Yeah, but you don't want to gas up somebody on the depth chart too. You know what I mean? That's not supposed to be. That's
Potentially,
not going to be there.
potentially, that's possible, but I didn't get that sense. But
Okay, that's kind of what I was looking for. What your
possible.
sense was?
Um, the Makai stuff. I did talk to Aaron Moorhead after practice, just bullshitting around, not in a press conference environment, and he said the exact same thing I said. Yeah, I don't get it. Basically, Devontae's fine, but Makai needs to be out there. So, I mean, he's on that same trajectory, um, which is understandable as well.
All right, Johnny Mac, good stuff. Practice today. Give us the injury. Give us the rundown. You just gave us some of them. Obviously, Devontae and Makai not out there. No Cooper, no Q today. Feels kind of like we're reaching the point of training camp where guys are out, and it's maybe not as tied to the reason they're out as much as it is probably just rest for some of these guys. What'd you make of the injury report today? Give us the rundown.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up. That was the story. Cooper and Quinyon back, both out, both with injuries. It's a glute for Quinyon. It's a groin for Cooper. Interesting, front and back. But they're on the field having fun, laughing, Vic's chatting with them. You can tell it's not serious. Same thing with Devontae. You can tell it's not serious. Tariq Castro Fields also was added, so he's out with a heel injury. So, man, and Jonathan Jones is already out with a shoulder, so they were down to, Reek Woolen, the only top tier corner, and Mac McWilliams, but also Keely Ringo, Jacorian Bennett. I even saw Sean Wade get a couple first team reps. So yeah, you're at that point of training camp where it will start when guys are out. It will start to affect practice a little bit, and the guys have been out for a while. Keyshawn James Newby, and a lot of them are rookies. Kai Lemon, Cole Wisniewski, guys like that. I mean, they got to get back. And then you have Damian Pierce, who's been out with a hamstring. How many hamstrings they got? I got to count them up.
Yeah, a lot. 1,
2, 3, 4 currently. It was, but Britton's back. He had a hamstring. I think there was another guy, but so that's where you are with the injuries. A lot of cornerback issues, which could be difficult, just from a practice standpoint. And then you say, well, they had a nice throw. Like I said, Wicks had a Wicks had a big time day, and it's like, is that because of the corners, or is it? But you can tell his route running is really sharp, really sharp.
Does he look better than you thought he'd look so far, John?
Wicks, yeah, much better. Like he's had a really good camp.
Like, do you think he could be a real 2? You've been kind of putting him at he's a great 3.
Yeah, I don't. Same with Nick. I don't know if I'm at that point.
Okay.
But for what's out there, for what he's performed, like the negatives you heard about him, which I saw in the spring, he did have trouble catching the football cleanly. He has had no issues in camp, so he's tightened that up. The route running, he's still obviously he's still never going to be the fastest guy. He's not the fastest guy in the world, so there's some limitations there. But he's been better than I expected.